Hey, what's going on, people? This is Arthur Tenchi, and I am back with another TMNT Rant Rave review for this week's episode entitled Mikey Gets Acne. So, it starts out with the turtles attempting to make breakfast. I put extra emphasis on attempt because none of them can cook. The only one that can cook is Mikey. Mikey's not exactly feeling so hot when he gets out of bed because he found, because he's finding that he's got all these bumps, all these pimples all over his face, all over his body, and yeah. At first they're thinking it's just just a regular sign of being a teenager, like it is for most humans, but come to find out, they're pimples caused by the fact that Mikey had put retromutagen, or what he thought was mutagen, on his face. It was actually the re-engineered retromutagen, but it was a bad batch, and now it's incredibly unstable. So within 3 hours, Donnie calculated that within 3 hours, those pus-filled pimples will grow to the point where they explode. So they got 3 hours to engineer a cure, but they need the proper equipment. They need a high-powered centrifuge to mix the chemicals with. So they figure that the only place they can get one is at TCRI. Why TCRI? Because that's the only place they found one. So they get to TCRI, they find the centrifuge, but lo and behold, the person that's there is Baxter Stockman. Now on the flip side, here's the flip side. Dog Pound and Zever, aka Fish Face, are summoned by Karai because she wants someone that she can manipulate into maintaining her footbots on a regular day-to-day basis, and the only person that they know with enough know-how to do that is Baxter Stockman. Baxter Stockman is at TCRI making a stockpile of equipment for his own lab, which he still has, because his plan is to make a whole army of mutants for his own use. So you have Mikey dealing with his self-esteem because he's thinking that no one's taking him seriously, which I can totally understand. And you have Dog Pound, who wants to be a man again. He wants to be his regular old self, and he's dealing with that conflict. So I can kind of sympathize with both of them. So Mikey ends up tracking down both Dog Pound and Baxter Stockman at Baxter Stockman's old lab. And you see this big vat of mutagen. Huge, vat of mutagen, because obviously he was planning on making a whole bunch of mutants. Now, he had promised Dog Pound, because Dog Pound was still keeping him alive, and you know how much of a suck up Baxter Stockman is, as long as he can save his own skin. He promised him that he can make him human again. Yeah, right. And to make sure that he's good on his word, Dog Pound puts this collar on him that's already fit with mutagen tubes. So when he presses this button on this little detonator he's got, it can explode if Baxter Stockman doesn't keep his word, which means that if it ends up exploding, he will mutate into something. And I think they're really hinting at the fact that Baxter Stockman in the earlier series becomes this mutant called the Fly, because I recall someone making a little joke about him being a bug. So it's possible that that's what they're hinting at, and I can't wait to see what happens for this particular incarnation. So Mikey and Dog Pound go at it, right? Unbeknownst to the rest of the turtles, because Mikey feels like, okay, if you're not gonna take my ideas seriously, because he was the one that thought to track them down to Baxter's old lab, and the rest of the turtles were like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they go back there, right? And so he tries to get the centrifuge from them, and it turns into this big fight. And the stupidest thing they could have done was fight on these rickety beams in the ceiling. And next thing you know, Dog Pound, as big as he is, ends up crashing down some of the boards on the ceiling, holding on to Mikey's leg for dear life above an entire vat of mutagen, and falls into the mutagen. Now we get to see what happens when someone that's already been mutated gets doused with mutagen again. Lo and behold, he survives. This time as Razar or Razar. Now that straight up is with the the movies. Straight up reference to the movies. I love the look. Even though, yes, someone pointed out that he does kind of look like a squirrelanoid from episode 3 of season 2. But he's got razor sharp teeth, you know what I'm saying? It's easy for him to maneuver and move around, and he can now use his ninja skills, plus he's stronger. So he likes his new form, right? And who has to come save the day? Mikey. He has this idea to knock everybody out. I'm not exactly going to tell you how because I spoiled enough. But altogether, I think this was a pretty cool episode. Now we got Baxter Stockman on Shredder's team yet again. We got people dealing with internal issues. We got mutants evolving into another form of into another mutation, and it came together quite nicely. At first, it felt like a filler, but it was totally totally canon to the original story. So, to the current plot line. So, what do you guys think of this episode? What was your favorite part of the episode? What do you think of Razar? Do you like the form? And what do you think about that little hint about Baxter Stockman and the bug? Do you think that he's gonna that this incarnation of the Fly is gonna look good, or are you not looking forward to it? Well, just comment down below and let me know, and I will see you on the next video. Peace, love, and never be normal.